'cause your home is getting far too cold. The sun is going to sleep.
What's going on, guys? Definitely been a long time since I made my last update video telling you guys about my soccer journey over in Europe. But right now I'm back home in Denver, Colorado. Finally getting around to it about 8 months later. So the way I'm going to do it is by breaking it down into 4 videos, with each video going into as much detail, telling you guys what I've learned and what I've experienced. It's also something I could reflect back on later on in the future. So for the rest of this video, what I'll talk about is what happened in England. The second video is going to be about my time in Croatia and Ireland. Third video, I'm going to tell you guys on how I signed a contract in Spain and the reason why I had to come home. And then lastly, the last video is going to be just some life updates. When I ended up coming home, I got 2 surgeries. Also, I'm going to talk about the rebranding of High Stake Lifestyle with the new logo, and then what my short-term and long-term goals are moving forward. But without further ado, let's get into it. So for those of you that don't know, I bought a one-way ticket from Denver to London in May of 2018, just in pursuit of a soccer contract. I went out there knowing absolutely no one, had 0 contacts, and so flew into London and slowly made my way up to Sheffield, which is about 2.5 hours north by train. The reason why Sheffield was it had a good rail system and a good bus line that connected all parts of England. It was pretty centralized as well. So it was about June 20th, 1 month after I settled into my flat, that I actually started to email teams. But before I do go into how my emails looked and the emails I sent and the responses I got, I kind of want to discuss the English football pyramid for those of you that don't know. So in England, there are more than 20 levels in the pyramid. There are hundreds of leagues and thousands of teams that participate in the English football pyramid. And the cool part about it is that it's not set in stone. You know, unlike in America with the MLS and most major league sports, there's no relegation and promotion. But in England, each division has relegation and promotion except for the Premier Division, which is the highest division. It just has relegation. Depending on what league you're in, a number of teams get promoted and that do the best, that perform the best, and then like the 1, 2, or 3 teams that perform the worst get relegated to the next division below it. So with the divisions explained, now if you play in the 4 top leagues, you're considered a professional. So that would be the Premier League, the Championship, League 1, and League 2. Below that, between levels 5 and 11, it's part of the National League system. And if you play there, you're considered a non-league player or a semi-pro player. And then League 12 and below, that is just a Sunday league, or you're just an amateur player. You get paid all the way up to amateur, but it just depends on how the club investments look like, and obviously the higher up you are, the more you get paid. That being said, June 20th is when I started to email teams, starting at League 2, which is the 4th level, making my way down all the way to the 10th level. I would visit each team's website, see if they had a contact that I could reach out to, and most of them did. It was more of like a automated email that they had, so it'd be like info@theclubname.uk, but some teams did have a coach's email or a chairman's email, the club owners. But I would keep my emails short and brief, keeping in mind that they probably receive hundreds of emails like this a week from players all around the world. So it looks something like this. I just had my name, that I'm living in the UK, kind of eliminating that travel factor. That's one reason why I moved out there. And then I would just attach my CV, my soccer resume, which also had my highlight film attached to it. So between June 20th and June 27th, I sent out roughly 180 emails to 110 teams in England. I've also sent out 20 emails to teams in Ireland. The reason I did some to Ireland was because firstly, it was pretty close. It was cheap to travel to. Also, I had a 1.5 month long trial with Waterford FC in January and February of 2018. And a massive shout out to those guys because they qualified for the Europa League this upcoming season. So that is pretty cool. And I also sent out a few emails to contacts I had in Israel, Croatia, and Austria. And right off the bat, I received no response from the teams in Ireland, and I heard nothing back, and like nothing came through fruition with the 3 contacts I had. There were a few things in the making, but we couldn't make anything really work out. But here are the responses that I got from the English clubs. 7 teams said that they would forward my email to the correct person. Again, those were most likely the emails that just had the info at the clubname.uk. They were very polite, thanking me that, that I wanted to travel with their team. I got 4 responses saying that they are not looking for a trialist. We're not looking for someone in your position, all the way down to, hey, look, you're an American and you don't have the correct paperwork in order to play in our league or even play in the UK. So we're, even if we did bring you on trial, we can't sign you. So that is a problem I ran into, and it's something I'm going to explain towards the end of the video. And lastly, I received 2 emails back from AFC Mansfield, which plays in the 8th division, and Handsworth Paramore FC, which plays in the 9th division, inviting me out for a trial. And honestly, I was so thrilled to get those emails, get those responses. Even though the 2 responses I got were from the lower division teams, all I wanted to do, that was my whole goal, was just to go over to Europe, get my foot in the door, and start slowly making a name for myself. But just to get off on a slight tangent for anyone that's watching that wants to pursue soccer as well, I just want to share with you something that I got to witness over and over and over again. It is a little bit of a touchy subject, but I'm just going to go into it. I have it kind of written down in front of me, and I'll try my best to explain it to you. Being on a journey and going after this dream, I ran into so many players that are, not gonna lie, definitely better players that, better technically gifted than I am. That would just brush these opportunities away, valuing themselves as these $1 million players. Because, every kid's dream is to play soccer for a living or play football for a living, and they would just value themselves as these high players because they played either for like a top Division 1 school, or they played for like the top club team or top DA stateside. But something that I got to witness in Europe, whether it would be in England, Croatia, Ireland, and Spain, is that they look down upon American soccer. You say that you're from, America, trying to break into their soccer system over there, and they right away, they even see you play, and right away their standard of you has just dramatically dropped, because they don't think that Americans know how to play soccer. And the vice versa happens too. When you have a person with an English accent that flies over to the States, right away everyone thinks that, hey, this person had to have played professional soccer, and that whatever comes out of their mouth regarding soccer, football, is the right thing, because football was born in England, so whatever they say has to go. So you see that happening as well. But going back to the players, where they are now? They're just at home complaining on how brutal the system is. And yes, the system is brutal, it's tough, it's unfair, and it's diluted with so many players that are after the same thing that you and myself are after, signing that professional contract. And that if you just brush this opportunity away, the next person is just going to step in, take your spot, and just go on from there. But all I have to say regarding that is just, if an opportunity presents itself, just take that opportunity, go into it as a nobody, but filled with confidence in your ability to perform. Again, this doesn't apply to everyone, but it's just something that I got to witness over and over and over again, and I just want to be transparent and honest with you guys, talking about my journey over there. So going back to the 2 trials, everything that happened for both teams happened in the month of July. So here's a calendar to show you on how I did it and where I went. Everything in orange is for Handsworth, in red is for Mansfield, the T is for training, the G is for games. A lot of training sessions and games did overlap, so I'm going to do my best to explain to you how I managed everything going forward. For the first week of July, I went to Handsworth training session. Mansfield didn't start their preseason until that Saturday. So I went on Tuesday, got invited back to come on Thursday, and then on Thursday I just notified them that I wouldn't be able to make it to Saturdays and Tuesday's session because of a previous commitment I made, and they were totally understanding. They were cool with it and just told me to come back that Thursday, the upcoming Thursday. The way I went to those training sessions was by taking 2 buses. That took me about an hour to get there, and the same thing coming back. So every time I had a training session, I did the same thing. But the Mansfield one was something completely different. Now that was a journey. For the Mansfield sessions, I would firstly start off by walking 2 miles, about 40 minutes to the train station. I would catch a 30-minute train to workshop, have a 30-minute layover, so to speak, just wait for the next train to come by. And then I'll get on that next train, then go south about 40 minutes. And yeah, I'll get off at the station. I would walk about 10 minutes to the bus stop and wait for the bus, get on the bus, and it was a 7-minute ride to the facility. So that was a journey for sure. Took me about 3.5 hours there, and the same thing coming back. So it was a whole day just to go on a 2-hour trial. But I went on Saturday and they invited me back, and I came back on Tuesday, and luckily on Tuesday's session I befriended someone that just lived a couple houses away from where I did in Sheffield, and he was willing to give me a ride. So every time we had a game or training sessions moving forward, he would just pick me up from my house, and it was about a 40-minute car ride to the facility. Before I go any further, here's just a little stadium tour of Mansfield. They played like in a 1,600 capacity stadium. It was pretty neat, pretty small. However, I didn't play on their field because they were currently under renovation and they were trying to update their playing field. And then for Hands with Paramore, they also didn't play at their facility because they were under like a $2 million renovation, and we trained at a local sports club. Now going back to the calendar, on Thursday I went to the training session with Handsworth. The reason why, because I want to get invited to the game on Saturday, and on Saturday I made my first debut in England. I got subbed in with about 25 minutes left as a right back. We played against Sheffield United FC, which plays in the championship. However, it wasn't their first team. It was more of their academy plus their U23 team. It was kind of intermixed. You know, just a couple days ago before we played, they signed a kid for, you know, $20,000 from another team, and then another kid for like $15,000, another kid for $14,000, and that was pretty cool. You kind of got to see the business aspect of football over in England. And yeah, other than that, my performance was fantastic. After the game, went home, felt great, and then that Sunday I received a message from the coach inviting me back out to the Tuesday's game. But as you could see on the calendar, on Tuesday I played with Mansfield. He sent me a message just giving me the details to the game and said, you know, be here at this time. And then I responded, I'm sorry, but I made a previous commitment. I do apologize for the inconvenience. Other than that, I feel great, and thank you for the opportunity that you've given me. And then right away, he responds back with a brief message saying that, hey, look, we can't have people that aren't committed to play to the team. Hopefully your luck works out somewhere else. So he pretty much told me that I no longer could come back to their training sessions, and that really threw me into a shock. I was trying to balance these two teams out. I was trying to make everything work out because I moved all the way out to England in pursuit of this dream. So that was the first really, you know, denial I kind of got. Be like, look, we can't have anyone that's not committed to playing on a team. And I totally understood where he was coming from. So it took me a day to process it. Then on Monday, I responded with a massive message back, kind of trying to decompress the situation and trying to get my foot back into that door with the team. And luckily it worked out, and he responded back saying that you know, if they needed someone moving forward, or if something came up, he would give me a call, which, you know, I was super appreciative of. I responded saying thank you, and then I just carried on forward to games and training sessions with Mansfield. So I show up on Tuesday to the game, and right away the coach comes up to me and he says, hey, look, where were you on Tuesday and Saturday's game. Because he said, you emailed the chairman, but you didn't directly talk to me about it. And he said that I would be even lucky to get any playing time that game. So right away in my head, I was thinking that these two trials that I had within a matter of 2 days could just completely fall apart. Fortunately, it didn't play out that way. With about 30 minutes left, he subbed me in as a left back, then I moved back to a center back position against Hucknall Town FC, which plays in the 9th division. And yeah, I had a great performance. It was physical. The coach came up after the game, applauded me. He's like, well done, son. And he invited me back out to training on Thursday. So I was like, whew, I got, at least the one thing working out for me. So on Thursday, as I'm making my way to the training session, out of nowhere, the Mansfield coach, the Hands with Paramore coach sends me a message. He's like, hey, look, just gives me all the details for the game on Friday, so the next day, and says, are you available? And I kind of panicked because I still wanted both things to work out. So I responded, hey, yeah, definitely, I'm available, knowing that at a training session, I might play in the game on Friday, and then I also have a game on Saturday. So Friday comes around, I get picked up, and we go down to Belper Town, which plays in the 8th division. The reason I say this is because when we show up and we're warming up, he comes up to me saying that I'm going to start that game. And as we're warming up, I could have sworn I saw Mansfield, their head coach, with their training staff, kind of out in the corner scouting that game, because Belper, they were in the same division, so he was just trying to get like a scouting report on them. So right away, I was thrown off for a loop. I started that game as a right back, played the whole first half, I had a decent performance, but the whole time I was kind of, in the back of my mind, I was kind of scared because I could have sworn I saw them, but I didn't have my contacts in, so I couldn't really, see them in HD, so to speak. The game's over. I get in the car. It was a 3.5-hour drive back up to Sheffield. Got home at 12:30 in the morning, and then the next day woke up at 9, got back into the car, and it was another 3-hour drive to Bredlington Town FC. So we show up at Bredlington Town. I get out of the car, and I'm just sore. My quads, hammies, and my calves hurt. I had like a little tweak in my knee in that previous game. So honestly, I didn't really want to start, and my mentality wasn't, hey, I'm going to start this game. But that was definitely not the coach's plan. So we're standing with the team on the field. There's 22 of us, and the coach is with his training staff, him and 4 others on the opposite side of the field, kind of going through tactics. And then out of nowhere, I hear my name and the captain's name getting called over. So as I'm walking over there, there's a whole bunch of thoughts running through my mind. Be like, was he at this game? Was he not? Come to be, he actually was at the game, and I found out later on. But the reason he called me over was because he was like, hey son, you're gonna start right back for us. And that's all he said, and he just waved me off. And I was just kind of like, mentally I wasn't prepared, but slowly, the nerves started to set in. I went to the bathroom, and then the game started. The game started as a right back, and I don't know what got into me. All my soreness got away, and I was just buzzing. They played a 4-3-3, and I played as a wing back, so I was making the runs up in offense and coming back for defense. The first 10 minutes, I went up and I crossed in the ball. It was scored, so it was an offsides goal, unfortunately. But then just 5 minutes later, we had a corner, so I go up and I make my run. The ball was whipped in, and I headed it, and it went bottom left of the goal, and I scored, and it was 1-0, and I was just celebrating. I was, running around, running back, just kind of going, screaming. And then out of nowhere, all the guys come over. They're like, dude, relax. It's a preseason game. What are you doing? But I was super hyped because, the opposite team, they had people that played in the championship, League 1, League 2, pros. We also had a pro that played in our team. Our center mid played for Man City, which was like super cool, such a cool experience. Whenever you got the ball as a right back, he was always open, always checking in. So that was just a small little tangent. But, I was celebrating, I was buzzing, I was feeling good the whole game. played the first half, then I played up to the 70th minute, got subbed off. We were 3-0 up. He just put other trialists in. There were like 3 other guys that were trialing, but you know, get off the field, I'm high-fiving everyone. Everyone's just like, the American scored, you know, it was a cool experience. So, you know, after the game, I get back into the car, you know, they take me out to Indian food, and the coach pays for everything. He dropped about 800 pounds for the whole team, which is like close to $1,000. It was like an all-you-can-eat Indian cuisine. So, you know, that was super cool, kind of to celebrate, and kind of got to know the team better. We started to bond. It was a really cool experience. So get back in the car, and the coach says, hey, you know, come back out on Tuesday. You're having a great performance, a great trial with us, and we want you to play on Tuesday. So I said, okay. I show up on Tuesday, and he starts me as right back again. And this time I play the full 90 minutes. And again, feeling good, feeling like just crossing in the ball. Had another offsides assist, unfortunately, but you know, we were up 3-0, and we ended up winning that game 3-2. So, you know, it was cool. And after the game, the coach comes up and hugs me. This is a team we played against, Harsworth Collier. After the game, he comes up, hugs me. He's like, son, you did a fantastic job for us. You know, we want to sign you on a contract. You know, hopefully work something out with you. And you know, I was feeling great, but as you can see on the calendar, on Wednesday, I ended up going to Croatia, and I did notify the team that I won't be there for about 12 days because of this Croatia trip, and they were super excited about it. They're like, you know, don't worry, you had a great trial with us. We appreciate everything you did. Go to Croatia, relax. I didn't tell them it was a soccer trip, however. They're like, go to Croatia, relax. When you come back, they just bring all the paperwork with you on that upcoming Tuesday to the training session, and hopefully we could start working things out. But yeah, and I was off. But now you're, you know, wondering, if everything did work out so well with this teams, why didn't you sign a contract? Why didn't you stay in England? You know, why did you go to Croatia? Why did you go to Ireland? Let me explain this to you. On the 25th, I leave to Croatia for a 12-day trip, come back, and on August 6th, I go to the Tuesday's training session with all the paperwork that he asked for, my passport, my identification, a whole bunch of other stuff that he wanted. You know, feeling good, had another great training session with him. But all that kind of changed that Thursday. So I show up to training session on Thursday, and you know, the coach is happy to see me, but right away he calls me over to where he's standing with the club owner, the club chairman, and we have an honest 30-minute long conversation. Kind of sum it up, it pretty much went like, they submitted their paperwork, they did more research on trying to sign an American, which I was the first non-EU player that they were trying to sign, so they were learning as they were going as well. But they said that they ran into a dilemma because the English FA, the Football Association, wouldn't clear me as a player because I don't have the proper requirements in order to play in England. And if they don't clear me, then I can't qualify for their insurance. And then if I don't have the proper insurance, then I won't be able to play in their league. So it was like a whole chain reaction because the FA wouldn't clear me. Now this is where I'll kind of want to go more into depth onto why the FA couldn't clear me, you know, why some Americans went out there before and got contracts, and how come I went out there, I was offered a contract, and why I couldn't accept it. And now I'm gonna do my best to try to explain this to you. To begin with, if you haven't already, I would highly recommend you watching Jay Demerit's TEDx talk, which is linked in the descriptions down below. He's an American soccer player who at the age of 23, after graduating from college, moved out to London, played non-league football for 2 years with I believe it was like an 8th and a 10th division team, got scouted by Watford, signed a 6-year contract with them, played in the championship, and then got promoted to the Premier League, so played at the highest level of football, and then finished off his career with the Vancouver Whitecaps in the MLS. He is a prime example of an American soccer player who I tried to follow when I moved out to England. However, there was one major thing that changed between when he moved out in 2003 to when I crossed the pond in 2018. And that thing is that in 2015, the English FA passed a law that restricted foreign players to play in England, which I didn't know about when I moved out to England, and unfortunately I had to run into this situation when I was offered a contract. So right now I'm just gonna read a couple quotes to you guys that best explain this new regulation. So it was announced earlier this year in 2015 that the Football Association, the FA, was changing its rules on non-EEA European Economic Area players playing in the UK after a consultation with the Premier League, Football League, League Management Association, Professional Football Association, and Home Association. The FA chairman, Greg Dyke, explained that the current system needed to tighten so as to only allow non-EEA players who are internationally established at the highest level and whose employment will make a significant contribution to the development of their sport at the highest level. A number of important statistics were used by the FA to demonstrate their view that too many sub-elite foreigners were able to play in the UK, thus blocking English players' pathways through to the first team. Such statistics included: roughly 50% of all non-EEA players joined clubs via the appeals panel. 59% of all appeals were successful. 55% of non-EEA players who joined Premier League clubs played fewer than the league average number of minutes, and only 58% of players who were given work visas played any top-flight football in their second season. Dyke, the FA chairman, was keen to stress that the new system will make it far easier for us to identify and attract top quality players that truly are at the elite level, and it will make it far tougher for those who don't meet the quality standards to get to play in Britain. In order to qualify to play in the UK, the players must have participated in a certain percentage of senior international matches for his national team. Generally, that percentage is calculated over a 2-year period. However, the FA recognized that it is more difficult for young players to break into their senior national team and reduced the calculation period to 1 year for players under the age of 21. As you can see, this is how the charts are broken down to, and it uses the FIFA ranking system. So if your country is ranked the top 10, you have to play 30% or higher. 11 through 20 is 45% or higher. 21 through 30 is 60% or higher, and then if you're ranked 31st through 50th, you have to play 75% of all national team minutes or higher. So now if you look at the FIFA World Ranking as a release of this video, the United States ranks at 25. So that means that I must have played in at least 60% of all the national team minutes played in order to qualify to play in the United Kingdom, which I have not even come close to. There are examples where teams would sign players that don't qualify to play in England. However, what they would do is loan them out to a different team in a different country that has loose football regulations, and Liverpool is a prime example of this. I'm not going to pronounce the players' names because I'm going to butcher it, but they signed a Brazilian and a Nigerian with the hopes that with time and with more playing experience that they have at their club team, that they would be able to break into the national team, and then Liverpool would be able to bring them back into England and allow them to play competitively in the Premier League. Unfortunately, it took me moving 4,000 miles out to England to figure this out, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I've gotten to play with great players over there that played for Man City in the Premier League, played for Championship, League 1, League 2 teams. I've gotten to learn more about myself and about soccer out there and the politics that comes with it. So now I'm better able to inform other players that have the same dreams that I do. Also, I was able to build up on my CV, my soccer resume, kind of make a name for myself. Make it more appealing to scouts and teams that look at it. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this long video. I hope it was informative. If you can just do me a favor, hit that like button and that subscribe button. It helps me out tremendously. But tune in next time when I'm going to talk about my time in Croatia and Ireland. Other than that, that's it for me. Over and out. Have a good one.